We just have to, yeah, it's like, we'll just get through tonight, the rest of the later.
All
But
right.
I think maybe a bar was when I moved it for our last meeting. Triggered it.
All right, Joe, you want to do roll call, please?
Yeah. Ms. Rolling,
Here.
Mr. Knapp, Mr. Tolmer. Here. Mr. Livingston.
Here.
And I'm Joe Coward.
All right, and do we have guessing Bob Fryer? You're up first. For public comments, please?
I thought you had other things to do before.
No,
Well,
we're going to give you 3 minutes right now, and then afterwards, after we get done with our business, we'll
Okay.
give you more.
Well, whatever you want. I'm concerned, as you are, about the threat made to the future basic economics of the community by putting a toll grid booth thing on 79 by the Bridgewalk, 79. Again, I'm just showing, this is the picture of what the network of roads that leads to the Bridgeville, and that PennDOT has never done anything to improve or widen. So he's saying, in other words, you have 3 4-lane roads coming in. They left us to be the 2-lane wide bottleneck. All right. The other thing I want to show you is I am not certain that the lawsuit that Safed, Bridgeville, and the rest of the communities have filed against PennDOT is going to be successful. It's primarily based on, as you know, them not complying with the requirements to notify the public, et cetera, before they get the approval from the state legislature to do something like build the tolls. All right? Excuse me. No, that's no issue. I didn't work as a leader at all. At any rate, that's my fault. I apologize. What I think one of the best arguments to protect the borough will be the solutions, the total solutions to all 4 of the main corridors through Bridgeville, which you know, it's the Washington Avenue corridor, the Margaret Road corridor, the Chestnut Street corridor, and one that I saw a PennDOT guy working on 20 years ago. It would be extending Station Street toward I-79 North, and allowing people from Upper St. Clair and Bethel to drive through I-79 in that direction. These are all 4 of those. I think, I don't know, Joe, if you ever got those guys on council. Okay, that's fine. These are the 4 corridors. What I wanted to show you more specifically is PennDOT, whether you agree with me or not, has never done anything to help resolve the traffic congestion and problem in Bridgeville. They're going in other directions, east, west, and north, south. This, by the way, this is PennDOT's photograph of the 7-lane wide South End Bridge. But as you know, luckily I found out about it, and the secretary in South Fayette, the engineer in South Fayette, were able to persuade PennDOT to not build the 6-foot wide bridge, but to go for the 7-lane bridge. However, I just want to show you. This was when Dan Sussman was the CEO. Matter of fact, you were at the meeting.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. I forgot. You were at the meeting, and he changed everybody's mind about the 7-lane bridge. At any rate, what I wanted to mention to you, this is.
I remember it very vividly.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
What I was going to mention to you, the 7-lane bridge that I designed, and I believe that you guys approved, allowed 2 lanes to go from Bridgeville into South Fayette, and 2 lanes to go from South Fayette to Bridgeville. However, when Cessna left, this is what the design came down to. This was just issued a couple months ago. Excuse me. What PennDOT has done is, this is the bridge here. That's Chartier Street. What they've done is they've eliminated one of the 2 lanes coming from Bridgeville to South Fayette, as you can see here. They gave those 2 lanes primarily to the traffic columns that want to go right on the New Route 50 and I-79 North. And that essentially leaves Bridgeville
Hey, Bob.
without 1 lane.
Bob,
Yeah.
you realize that we all know you're preaching to people
Well, that's good, but I don't know, I want to know if you know this. Do you realize that because you now only have one lane coming to Bridgeville from South Ed, and there's no left turn stacking lane there, you know what's going to happen in that one lane? 30 times, or more than that. Matter of fact, if you want the actual numbers, I did 2 studies. 30 times between 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock every day, a car stops to make a left turn to Church off Washington Avenue to Chartier Street. It's going to block the traffic trying to get out of Bridgeville. All right? And I was going to say, what I'm trying to get at is, you guys have, I think what you're going to be faced with is, you're going to be faced with confronting PennDOT and tell them to build the roads through Bridgeville that they should have done 50 years ago. That's why I'm recommending that you guys make those roads part of the comprehensive plan now, because if you ever get to a courtroom, you can't be in a position where the judge can say to you, oh yeah, well you just did that last month as a rebuttal against PennDOT's efforts. It's got to be done like now. Planning Commission, Council, get it made part of the law of the community. The future of the community depends on it.
All right, thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
Pat?
Certainly, thank you. To follow on, that was a very nice moment as Bridgeville joined others taking the lead on improving the region and our community. And it's nice that we're alive to see it, because it's happening. I don't know that there is a project on the shelf right now. The South End Bridge is moving, and what I'm here to ask about is what project is being lined up that affects our community. What are we lining up heading forward? I know there's active transportation, that's its own piece, and I know that we have flooding. That actually dovetails into the Baldwin Street, the Bower Hill Road corridor. There is a point where the flood control project overlaps with Bower Hill Road. And the two need to be resolved, because if I recall, there are 3 different options for the next phase of the Bower Hill Road corridor. Okay, from a flooding standpoint, and each of those has a traffic component. And pointing out that for the past almost 2 years, no, longer, for almost 4 or 5 years now, we have not had a transportation project on the shelf that we're pushing for. Am I correct with that? Do we have, a significant, I'm not talking about, I know we've got Warner Street, I know there are a number of many projects, many grants, a lot of things going on. I'm not questioning that. Focusing on a project like the South End Bridge that we were trying to move forward. North End Bridge is out there, that's the next piece, but I'm just not seeing the next project. Is there a next project? What is it? What's the Planning Commission moving forward?
Well, to begin with, it's part of the process that we're going to talk about tonight.
Okay.
All right?
Let me sit down and listen to the answers. Thank you. I'll make it easy.
You may not get it, but we're going to work on it. All right? All right. Anybody else? That's it. Okay, so moving on. Adoptions of minutes. Any questions, comments, changes that you'd like to see for October 25th? All right.
I thought the minutes looked good.
All right, I need a motion to approve minutes as submitted.
So moved.
And a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passes. Right now, there's no new business. Well, there's no new business. We do have old business. All right? So, the old business, the first item on the agenda is the update on the active transportation plan. Now, there was a public meeting, and there were 2 steering committee meetings. One before the public meeting and one after. So the first steering committee meeting was held on August 31st. we had 2 business owners included, and a co-committee of both planning and council. The first public meeting was held at the fire hall in 1019, and over 50 people were in attendance. All right, the plan was presented to the community, and during that time, there were 4 maps placed on tables that allowed the residents to go and mark particular comments that they wish to make known. Now, in your packet that I've given to you were the 4 maps, all right, of the 4 panels that people could write on. So there were 4 comment boards that were provided for residents, and then after that period of time expired, the residents themselves were allowed to ask questions or leave comments. All right. There were some very healthy comments from people, but I think that people were understanding that it was to help Bridgeville and the pedestrians and the walkers. So, after that, the group took back, the traffic planning and design took back and made references to the comments to decide which one would then go into the preliminary plan for the active transportation plan. So they counted all those up, made a choice, presented that to the second steering committee, which occurred on December 1st. During that second steering committee meeting, we looked at all the comments that that residents had to say, and just took a look and pretty much placed them into a hierarchy. What could be, what's more important than others. At this point, it's now back into traffic planning, and the next meeting will be February 8th at the fire hall. And there are pamphlets here with the comments as well as information on how to get what happened at the steering committee meeting.
And there's a website link.
You know, I went on that today, and all I see are asterisks or A's and B's.
I went on there at 3 o'clock today,
Okay.
and I saw a map that showed, pretty much, if you remember,
Yeah, it's in there.
attachments. Yes,
Yeah, it's in
the
here.
second and third pages, they were
Okay.
on that website.
Okay. Maybe I can't just get it because I'm using my iPad or my phone.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
looked today and saw the same thing. Very niche point, I think it's February 2022.
Yeah, it's been
Okay.
Okay. All right, so at the February 8th meeting, the residents of Bridgeville will have the opportunity to look at the items. They'll review it and add their comments. So then it will go back to traffic planning, and then the final version will be presented to council sometime, I guess, March, something like that. I think so.
That's the-
March, April?
I wouldn't say that late, probably March.
Okay, all right. Any question? No.
You made a question about the data and stuff. What would we get from it? Like, is it going to be just like a proposal?
No, it's a full-blown plan. So
Yeah.
if you saw like the maps that show like a concept, there'll be a narrative and then an estimate for them.
Okay.
And then there was a couple schematics that would be shown for various intersections that
We made any like raw data from them that we.
I don't think there any was any like. If you're looking for like traffic counts or anything,
Well, no.
no. It was pretty much a suggestion. Let's say like we think one of those rapid warning devices
Yeah.
should be installed at Washington and Bank Street. Here's a plan of where it should be.
Yeah.
This is what it would cost. This is who could fund it.
Does it show what it looks like? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
is that
Yeah, 'cause
visual?
he showed that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
All right. So, because, still to me, I like to have backup research, and I did ask the question at the steering committee meeting, how many people made mention that they thought this was a bad crosswalk?
Mhm.
And
But I don't think that really warrants it. I think if you have a traffic engineer who reviews streets says that that's a bad crosswalk,
Okay.
I think that has more weight than two average folks like me saying it's a bad sidewalk.
Okay,
You know?
okay, all right, that's fine.
I don't know, that was my take off it.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions or comments? Dale, you were there. Anything that you had to say?
No, I mean, it seemed like they covered the comments. I wasn't at the public meeting back in October, but it seemed like they covered, you know, it was a good discussion about the issues and locations and stuff. We seem like we're headed in the right direction.
And I honestly think that if at all possible, let's get out there. I mean, I gave the first public information poster to all the businesses on Main Street before the first one. So let's try to get some handouts, give these handouts, so we get other people involved. I mean, they were all surprised at 50, the 50 people
It's a good
that were
turnout.
there, so.
Could be more than.
Right? All right, so moving on to the second agenda item, which is, we're calling the 2022 visioning. Now, when I started actually my first public meeting was in March of last year. We had this low-hanging fruit that occurred or came out of the comprehensive plan, all right? No, I don't think we ever did get around to discussing that low-hanging fruit, which was, clean up Main Street with flowers, the fluffy things, all right?
Low cost, easy to do stuff.
Correct, all right? But the thing of it is that I don't want to forget those, because I think that even if we have to carry them on into next year and try to do something next year, then let's at least try to get something accomplished. So I ask all of you to sort of do a list of what you think would be beneficial or things that we need to look at for 2022. Now, I know we're going to be busy, either between the comprehensive plan or the active transportation plan. We're going to be very busy, and it's going to consume a lot of our time. Hopefully, we have some time to talk about things like this. So, anybody want to move forward? Tell me what your wish list is.
Well, I mean, he started a conversation with the North End, and I think that's going to be addressed in the comprehensive plan. But I also think that we've already started conversations about the North End with neighboring communities and stuff. So that's probably something that should be ongoing.
Okay, so as far as you're concerned, I mean, is there going to be a cooperative arrangement between Bridgeville and Collier and Suffolk?
I mean, that would be something, yeah.
Okay, Bridgeville and Collier then.
Yeah.
Joe, did you go to a meeting, a traffic meeting?
Mike and I had going to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we did, they called it the Washington Task Force.
And when was the last time you all
I don't know
met?
where they got that name, but
Yeah. It was before COVID. Unfortunately, Dawn Williams ended up moving to North Carolina or something, so she had to step down as a commissioner. So that's something that we're trying to start up again.
Okay,
but there was a dialogue started already.
okay. Right. So, any thoughts as to what our first step should be, or?
Those were the first steps, and, there was some, wet, some conceptual drawings done up by Gateway that we had done back in the day, just a conceptual, that we looked, we shared with Collier, and, they had the same engineers, that's correct.
Yeah.
So the engineers have the drawings, they took a look at them. But as far as moving forward, this, where it left from there, kind of stalled with Dawn leaving, and so I think it would be some matter of reaching out to them again.
I have talked to Kyle, and they wanted to wait until the election was over.
Oh, okay.
They didn't want to start with somebody and then.
So Joe has actually had some initial conversation with PennDOT on this, and just kind of with everything going on with the tooling and everything, and not the uncertainty of whether that will go through or won't go through, Joe proactively made contact with those guys and discussed the possibility of a joint project with those guys, knowing that we have some designs and things in place. And there was an appetite there for further discussion. So the table's set, but there's a lot more on, obviously, on that side and up here. So the conversation, I think, has been initiated, and we should start to see some traction with the folks at Collier and obviously PennDOT.
All right, so this is, hold on for a second, let me.
Yep, I'll be glad to.
Is this part of what you're talking about?
That's exactly what I'm talking
Okay.
about. Thank you.
All right. Bob, briefly?
What good is the North End project going to do Bridgeville? How will that get more consumer motorists driving through our central business district? Tell me. And what I'm getting to is, to do the North End project by itself, I think is a tactical error for this reason. If you get, I'm sure you'll be able to get PennDOT to give you $4 or $5 million, you know, to do that. I think there's a couple homes that have to be taken. Well, let me finish my comment, Joe. Okay, my point is, if you have PennDOT fund that project and don't have them do the whole corridor, you're making a mistake. Because they'll give you the $5 million for that project, and as they always have done, then they'll say, well, we'll see in 20 years. Maybe we'll talk about the two-way couple.
All right.
Maybe we'll talk about, okay, please think logically about that based on PennDOT's past history, all right?
Okay, all right. All right, so, anything else? You have anything else besides North End? I know.
You've got the list of stuff,
Yeah,
but I have trees on there.
yeah.
I know somebody that's been getting a lot of look back for trees, and she's gonna be looking to do that again this
Good.
spring. So there's that.
All right.
Good.
Dale?
Washington Avenue again.
I don't know, she's talking about where else on Big Town,
Well,
you know. But if somebody wants to go Washington, she'd be more than happy to go Washington.
I think they were discussing about,
What's that?
we lost a lot of trees down Chartiers Park.
yeah,
You can put trees anywhere. I mean, down there, Charters Park looks cool. I mean, there's places to put trees all over Bridgeville.
Right.
You need trees everywhere.
yeah.
But if there are going to be trees on Washington Pike, then
I think what we should do is identify the easiest place
Right.
to put trees.
yep, absolutely.
All right, like the parks or whatever, and see how we can fund that. I mean, the although Arbor Day Foundation, their trees are tiny, is that right, Joe?
That was my experience.
Yeah, okay, all right. Well, I'm sure there's other places that we could find them. Pittsburgh,
That's true.
all right? That's it, that's your two?
Yeah, it's all.
Yeah, for me, when we think about relatively low cost and investment, and one of my pet projects on the initial list was kind of resurrecting the cleanup day. I think Joe shared at the time, like it's been met with limited success in the past, but I think it would meet a couple of different ends. The primary one, most direct one, obviously, is just the opportunity to clean up some of the local area come springtime. The second is, I think, depending on who you get to show up for that, using that as something of a captive audience to drum up interest in ongoing comprehensive plan involvement. We could advertise next coming events and that kind of thing. I'd love to see that dovetailed with one of the ideas that one of the folks that bid on the comprehensive plan idea came up with, which was shutting down the street right in front of Rail Yard, making something of a grill out lunch, kind of see it back in 4 hours sort of community event. You could couple that with planting trees as well if you wanted to do both a beautification as well as a cleanup thing. And I think the investment is a modest one, I suspect. You can get local businesses, maybe even some of the Collier businesses, just for the value of advertising to donate to that and get themselves on a list of donors. But it feels like that's mostly a organizational effort as opposed to financial investment. So that one comes back to the top for me.
Dovetailing what you just said is that one of Has the Italian club, is the Italian club part of that FEMA?
That hasn't been decided.
Okay, all right.
They make a decision this week,
Oh,
a
okay.
final decision.
Okay. Because one of the things that I have been thinking about is if those lots behind the rail yard open up, because it's going to be something that we can't touch, but we can also look at designing a parking lot that is within the realm of, with, what, stones or something like that? Permeable. All right, so if we do that, then that takes parking off of the street. And, you know, anyway, it's just a concept. It's just an idea that I think might work down there, so. But
In line with cleanup, you know, there's, I guess, you know, from time to time, the properties, Joe, in town where, you know, you send, you know, letters saying, hey, this needs to be taken care of, you know, it needs cleaned up. Are there instances where people aren't able to do it because of maybe, you know, physical disabilities? Is there issues like that where you found where, you know, these people love to take care of the properties, but they just can't physically do it?
I've had a couple.
You know, is that something that maybe we tie that up with cleanup? Hey, look, you know, so, you know, Mrs. Jane Doe is, you know, her property's in shambles, and you know, she just can't physically do it. And you know, send a team of people over there to, you know, clean up her yard, whatever, you know, try to see what we can do to clean her house a little
I
bit.
mean, it's like in Pittsburgh, the city of Pittsburgh, they have, if you can't shovel your sidewalks, you sign up for volunteering to help clean up somebody's sidewalks, all right?
Yeah.
And it's that sort of thing. It's just a volunteer program, so
Right.
it just takes somebody, I think, to instigate the volunteers.
Well, you would, yeah, with something like that, you'd sit there and you go, you would have to, if you were just shoveling snow.
Right.
Because obviously you have to shovel your snow. You know, you find out who was in the area, like,
Right.
all right, you're right, she lives 2 doors down from you, 48, so, yeah.
I just read in a magazine that I got today, there's a volunteer organization like for elderly. If they can't change a light bulb,
Right.
they'll come and change the light bulb for you. If they, you know, it's that sort of thing that, hey, I'm afraid to get up on ladders now.
I gotta do it for Bill all the time. He doesn't like to go up on a ladder, he calls me up.
Good, I'm gonna start texting you then.
A lot of truth to that.
Well, anyway.
No,
we can talk about it.
if there's an opportunity, something like that, if there's an opportunity to, you know, clean up property,
Right,
you know,
right.
and it
Yeah.
is, you know, maybe it's bank owned and, you know, the bank ain't gonna do it, but you know, maybe we just go clean up the lot. Just, you know, go there with a couple, you know, weed whackers and, you know, to clean it up and just love, you know, get all the brush out. So it's just not an eyesore.
Are we thinking about Earth Day, doing something for Earth Day this year?
Nice.
This would be a pretty good thing to do.
Yeah.
I guess the thing I like about that too is the timing is right. You've got 3 good months to plan it. I'd probably
Right.
put out a couple of things to try and drum up some interest in the Bridgeville area, news somebody, generate a little bit of goodwill for the area,
Yeah.
put something out there.
Right.
Mike, I know the Rotary's been looking for a service project. I think that'd be right up my alley.
There you go. That was my idea about the Rotary.
Huh?
That's my idea for Rotary.
Well, that's not enough. Guess who do I get to put in charge of it?
Yeah, but, you know, that would be a
Well, I
good thing
think
for
that would-
several, you know, get a bunch of the service
Oh, absolutely,
organizations, you know,
absolutely.
Rotary, Boy Scouts, you know, Girl Scouts,
Absolutely.
that type of thing, Lions.
Right.
Get the organizations to come together to do stuff.
I did talk to somebody that's collecting those plastics down at the library, and the guy said that they've collected 1,000 pounds of plastic.
Oh, yeah.
So somebody's entitled to 2 benches in Bridgeville. So good.
Yeah.
Dale, you have anything?
You know, I mean, a lot of the things that we talked about ended up going into the request for the update for the update of the comprehensive plan. move forward and move forward that way. And it's gonna keep him busy writing grants and it'll give us some ideas for how we want to move forward for Bridgeville. I think that's going to take a fair amount of time.
And I think that's where we're going to be missing you with your numbers.
Yeah, I guess I'm shy about volunteering ideas, backing away at this point, but.
Well, you'll still get that. We know it.
That's true.
We get you full.
We know where you live.
One of my things, one of my big items is the FEMA lots, what's going to happen, or what can we do to the FEMA lots that fall within the realm? And then the second one is those houses that are going to be torn down because of blight. All right? So I think we have 5 or 6 lots for blight. You know, we just can't, in my opinion, we should just leave them an empty field. Somebody has to take care of.
Well, yeah. And it's kind of like what we're talking about, even if you have, you go and you go clean them up. And even if you just plant grass seed, make it just stay a little clean.
Right.
Well, the borough's going in and demolishing those houses, part of the demolition stuff. Who actually owns the property? Does the borough own the property now?
It depends on which project you're talking about.
Yeah.
The FEMA Baldwin Street properties, the borough will own.
Okay.
The blight removal, they will stay in the property owner's name, and the lien's typically placed on the property. So it could be sold or redeveloped, but they're not owned by the borough. They can be easily acquired if it's desirable. Many of them aren't desirable.
Yeah.
But would they be desirable for the borough as open space or no?
The
Green
ones,
space?
no, I think it becomes de facto green space without us
Okay.
taking title to it. I wouldn't know myself.
All right.
Like, for example, like 105 Presley Road, it's a steep cliff. It's-
Right.
Yeah.
No one's gonna do anything with it ever
And
again.
you look at some properties that, anywhere in Pittsburgh, that you would never, because they were built how many years ago, but today you would never build it.
Right.
The Baldwin Street lots do have potential on an interesting reuse plan that's worth discussing.
Right, okay.
But some of those housing ones, it's just how do we maintain them in an attractive manner?
Okay. All right. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Pat.
If you don't mind, because you were bringing up about the FEMA and the hazard mitigation grant, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So I'd like to take this opportunity. The Italian Mutual Beneficial Society will be meeting this week on Thursday to make a final decision on accepting FEMA's $385,000 offer to purchase the social home. They have already formally accepted the $110,000 offer to purchase the building in the front,
That's where Gene has his.
where Gene has his, or had his.
Had.
I'm in the process, hopefully there will be, the former collateral homestead will also be part of the program. I want to put on the table now, in case anybody has any brilliant idea regarding the Italian project. Okay, that's what I refer to as social home. They have looked at what used to be the Ritz Hotel, Little Oasis on McLaughlin Run. They looked at it hard. They went down there, went into the property, and did not find it to be a reasonable future home. I can get into the reasons why. We've also, I've thrown out a couple of other ideas of places, the old Greenwich Club, and some others, without success. So it is my anticipation, again, formal decision has to be made, it is my anticipation that they're not going to move forward with this voluntary program because they can't find a way to take $385,000 and make it into a new home. And there's a wonderful opportunity to hold on to that history as well, but they'd like to actually have a new home. So the reason I'm throwing this on the table is this is the planning commission, it plans. These are the people in the room that might have ideas. If you've got something brilliant, you know, throw it on the table. If you want to call me later or call any member, or call Mike, he's a member there as
St.
well.
Agatha's.
You know, what you've got is an opportunity to create what Justine was talking about. And when we put it on the table, just, you know, I felt that it was incumbent upon me to put it in front of the body, that, you know, this is what's going.
So you're looking at the lot where Gene Calavo used to have his
His shop.
shop. All right,
That's
and then
already
you're
gonna be-
looking at the old Calavo home.
Correct.
That's already gone.
Those,
Okay,
Those are gone.
those are participating in the program.
okay, all right. So the Italian club, in other words, their property ends at the parking lot then for the Italian club.
The parking lot for the Italian club, and then toward the bushes right behind the building.
Okay, all right,
The
Yeah.
Collateral
okay,
Club.
all right. I see a nice bocce ball court down.
There's already a nice bunch.
There's a very nice bocce ball court down there already. A nice outdoor structure. It's a beautiful facility. It's tough to duplicate.
All right,
So if anybody's got anything,
okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Excuse me,
Yes,
did I misunderstand you? Do you want to keep the Italian club or get rid of it? Don't you want to clear the area?
Yes, you want to get rid of the structure, but you want to be able to have a home for the organization. The organization doesn't want to be homeless, and it can't find another home. So while it would be amicable to losing the structure, there's nothing historic about the structure. The membership would like to have a home,
right.
Oh,
and they have not been able to find a suitable home. Therefore, they're going to probably reject the offer.
well, let me mention something that you guys already know. On the Baldwin Street corridor, the area between, is that Janeway? That street comes down Janeway?
Yeah.
Right, the area between Janeway and like where Lucy Motors used to be, that's the largest section of land adjacent to Baldwin Street. You could put, if you work it right eventually, by acquiring those properties and doing it through FEMA perhaps, and convincing the present property owners to sell their buildings to FEMA so the borough can gain some control of it. You could put a major food store in there that would be the fundamental basis, anchor store for a whole new business district on the corridor. So just something to keep in mind.
We won't be able to build on it.
You're not allowed to build on it if FEMA.
Yeah, I was going to ask you something else. When, I just heard about the marvelous law that you guys passed about getting a $5 million loan to replace the commercial street, culvert, and building the walls down the creek from that point to Chartier Street. But tell me something, if you ever get a wall built along the Guantanamo Creek, between the creek bed and Baldwin Street, to protect Baldwin Street from becoming a flooding area, would it still be considered a floodplain? Once it would be protected, would FEMA release some
No,
of the?
that's the whole purpose of the project.
In other words,
That
once they
you would
buy.
take it out of the 100-year floodplain and you would have your maps revised.
I thought maybe once a wall might be built, it might protect you.
And that really needs to be a focus
That's all I-
next year,
Okay,
is that we adopted the flood control, plan from McLaughlin Run.
right,
Options 1 and 4.
Right.
But the middle was left hanging so that you guys could vet it out.
right.
And the council accepted your advice
Right.
that option 1A, which includes back channel to Jerry Delight, replace the culverts.
Right.
And we're working now to submit a grant application to FEMA. And we submitted it, and we were having a bunch of back and forth with them. We talked with them today. So that's moving forward, but that's only, a quarter of it. We need to go up the street. And
Okay, so,
there were some pretty awkward conversations, but they need to be had.
okay,
And it's, where do we want the next phase to go? Because as Mr. Fryer was saying, is that, do we carry that wall up Baldwin Street? And the plan has been presented. The engineer gave you a couple different options of
Right.
which one do you want to take, and some are as very bold as, hey, let's make this all
Right.
a green space,
Right.
or let's get rid of Barn Hill Road and do
So-
a traffic thing.
Right.
But that's going to take some interesting
Right.
input, and
So-
that needs to be a discussion for next year.
In your opinion, then, out of all the things that we've talked about, which, would you say that that by far is the item number one that we should consider for January?
Yes, because you left it, because
Okay.
you didn't
All right.
finish it.
We didn't finish it.
You
Okay.
didn't finish it. So it's nothing new, it's
Perfect.
unfinished,
Right.
that,
Right.
that people were waiting on that dialogue to
Okay.
continue.
All right.
Because we already took the ball and ran with phase 1A. And it's gonna take
Yeah.
time, we may not get awarded the first time, but we'll keep trying.
Right.
This may be a couple years, but if we keep being persistent and we keep getting our name out there and we keep vetting this plan and sharpening, what
Right.
they're looking for, it's gonna come to light. But we're gonna need to keep going up.
Okay.
It's silly to just do down here. We have to go up that street.
Right.
And it kind of is important because it takes them out of the flood zone.
Right,
So
okay.
that's it. The wall, as designed, is at 500-year levels.
Yeah.
So it would make a lot of people's lives easier and
Mhm.
living here and investing here and doing business here.
Okay.
Worthwhile.
And that's something, if you to make a decision on what you're doing on Waller Street, we really need to get the residents and the owners of Waller Street involved with that, get their input. Because we can easily sit up here and go, oh, we think this is a great idea because this is what the engineers, then you got to talk to the people who live down there, dealing with it, year in, year out. And what do they, because you say you won't know until you ask them. Somebody goes, you know what, if FEMA's coming and taking these properties, sign me up.
I have a lot of calls. It was interesting where once the first grant was awarded to do the flood buyouts, letters of interest were submitted back or solicited back in 2019, 2020, to anyone participate, and a lot of people didn't respond.
Right.
I guess they were skeptical. And then now that it got awarded and they were left out,
Yeah.
sign me up.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
have a list of at least 8 other homeowners that want to go. And I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So, because of the variety of options that we have for second phase of traffic,
That phase 2
Is-
is also a traffic component because it's the future of Barn Hill Road.
Right.
correct,
And that was
right.
one of the things to look at.
So I guess my dilemma is, do we do flood mitigation and see where that falls? And then look at Bower Hill Road and what Pat's saying?
Yes and no, because it all goes down to what option you choose.
Correct, that's what I'm
If
saying.
you believe the vitality and future of Baldwin Street is somewhat in the same of what it appears like today, no. If
Okay.
you want to think outside the box and bold it and get rid of current Barn Hill Road using the options that the engineer proposed before you that were already vetted, yes, it's a traffic issue.
Okay, and if wasn't there an option of making Bower Hill one way and Baldwin Street?
Cul-de-sac almost.
That was
Well, that's-
that was the one. There was, one option was a cul-de-sac.
Right.
One option was, pretty much everything on the creek side becomes like a green space
Right,
and,
right.
or a parking area.
Right.
And, current Barn Hill Road becomes Baldwin Street, and then it comes back up.
Okay,
But it did show up in a roundabout or something.
okay.
That was the one.
Hold it for a second.
Okay.
I don't think, my personal opinion, I don't think you can just look at the flood mitigation without looking at traffic.
Okay,
I think that's one of those things that, with
I'm sure it'll be a robust discussion, and I'm sure that it will. So, all right, so that's good.
Any project that involves that section of the creek is coming into that section of Barn Hill Road. Because the one planned option showed the sidewalk going away, and we thought that was an active transportation plan to widen the creek channel. So then it got rid of the sidewalks, and the road got narrower, and then we were saying, maybe that does need to kick the road down to Baldwin
Okay.
Street. So
All right,
it's definitely a component of that.
Okay.
It's one and the same, but various options are more in tow with traffic than the others. And some were basically, let's take the easy road and make it flood-proof, or do we want to make it more nice?
Right, okay. All right, any other comments, concerns? Go ahead, Bob.
I was talking to I don't know if he was an engineer, but he was someone with the Allegheny County Department of Works, that's, as you know, who builds the roads. And I was asking him about the traffic counts on Bar Hill Road. He said, like 14,000. That's just to the Bar Hill Road, McLaughlin Road intersection. So that means from there to Washington Avenue, it's probably 18, I guess, I don't know. But I asked him if it would be, I was trying to find out how much money the county spent widening Bower Hill Road for 2.3 miles, leading to Bridgeville, and not carrying it through Bridgeville to Washington.
So you're talking about from Painter's Run.
From Painter's Run right through Bridgeville, somehow, having the county pay for it. And if it requires using some existing alleys or taking some homes, they'll give people as much or more than they're entitled to. But I asked him why Bridgeville owns part of Bar Hill Road from, I guess the part that we own, all of it, I don't know. But, or maybe it took from McLaughlin in, I'm not sure. And I asked him if there was any chance or any way that Bridgeville could give that back to Allegheny County, because primarily that's the county's responsibility to get traffic moving from Route 19 and Mount Lebanon down that road to Washington Pike. Washington Pike is a major regional highway, and so is Bar Hill Road. I'm just telling you some of the possibilities for you to look into. I mean, and one other thing, in terms of the land that you can get PennDOT or FEMA to buy from you, that's great. Don't go putting homes on it, or buildings on it. Keep it, as you suggested, Justine, keep it level and use it as a parking lot to support some of the businesses that are around it.
That's part of the restrictions.
That's exactly right. Matter of fact, the FEMA guy that I've talked to 2 or 3 times in the past couple of years, I asked him if the floodplain area where they've taken homes on, if that could be covered with some sort of a slag and rolled flat and be used as a parking lot. And he said, yeah, and I was asking him what size slag are we allowed to use, number 4, he said, it's up to you. But I said, are we allowed to use a cleared land for parking? Yes, definitely, yes. And the other thing, I said, what about planting trees and
Right,
grass? And
that's
all.
on our list of
Anyway,
discussion.
I'm just offering you as possibilities. These are things you guys should look into.
All right,
And Bob, Bridgeville has tried giving Bar Hill Road back to Allegheny County many times.
How did we get it?
We've always had it.
Oh, it's
We
always.
look back,
Because it was part of the.
we thought, I remember we thought that we didn't own it at one point, and we took it, but we couldn't find anything. We looked, a few years ago, we had moved through the history of Bridgeville, and we could not find any documentation where we took it from Allegheny County.
I was curious.
Is that correct, Nina?
I don't know.
You asking me?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, that's a mystery. It's not a mystery. In I think in 1999, it's a long time ago, when Upper St. Clair, they took up to there, and they left that piece of it.
Right. Well, we've always owned. This
For a long
section.
time. We owned that for a long time.
Yeah, I don't
There
think
is no record anymore.
we could not find any record where we took it, Allegheny County gave it to us as insurance.
it actually transferred.
1990, and these things happened, that we
I'll
have.
tell you what the county is interested in. They're interested in economic development where taxes are produced because they're getting the taxes as well as Bridgeville. And they are interested in doing something about the traffic congestion on Bower Hill Road to Washington Pike. You might be able to put something together that then like and pay for it. It would all benefit them.
All right, well, I think, I have a couple of comments personally. number one, I think you guys did a great job this year. I mean, without Tim and his numbers and your background and Dale pushing us the first round to get the comprehensive plan reevaluated, I think that we did a lot last year. And hopefully we can continue to do a lot this year. But Tim, I really want to thank you for all your hard work. It's greatly appreciated.
I want to thank Tim, during my position as chair, I mean, you were very helpful with a lot of stuff. You and I have had a lot of conversation over the years. We've done a lot of good stuff for Bridgeville. I thank you for your time and welcome you back to the planning commission should you ever feel that, the family lets you have time to do that.
I appreciate the comments.
I don't know.
3 girls.
Three girls. And there's another kid there somewhere.
Also, too, before we end this, I really would like to, I talked briefly to Larry on Friday night, and I thanked him for all his hard efforts. And Dick Dec, I think we should also thank. And, the thing is that we've lost some valuable people this year. And, hopefully we get 2 more soon. All right, and we can move forward. I think it'll be a little bit different moving forward, but at the same time,
Well, what's nice is a lot of good groundwork has been laid.
Right,
And,
right.
and the other thing is, there's a level of expectation that's expected, the council expects from the planning commission.
Right.
So, there's gotta keep it going and
Right, right.
we're still at the same, this is the expectation.
Okay. All right, with that being said, anybody else, public, any other comments from the public? Okay. All right, okay, so with that being said, also too, a big shout out to Joe Cower for all his diligence and work this year. All right, so.
We've got the easy job. He's
I
not
know.
picking up the slack and running with it. I mean, he's doing all the heavy lifting.
Does he really do that much?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I want to shoot, but.
All right. With that being said, this is our last and final meeting for 2021. So I need a motion to adjourn. Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is ended. Thank you.